Welcome, my friends. Kevin Shirka here, the Indiana Jones nerd yet again. And today we're going to be talking about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, the upcoming video game from Lucasfilm, Machine Games, and Bethesda. So, Indiana Jones is going to be traveling the world in this game, and I believe that his first mission will be here at the Chachapoyan Temple in Peru. This is the opening scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And we've had plenty of teases that this is going to be in the game. We've seen a few very brief bits of footage here. These two shots in particular, recreating iconic moments from that opening scene. Now, why is Raiders of the Lost Ark in this game? Well, after Indy returns from this temple in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he fails to get the Chachapoyan fertility idol here, which was taken by Belloq, he goes back to Marshall College and talks about what happened, but he also gives him two small stones. And since Peru is on the Great Circle, I believe that Indy's adventure of the Great Circle has already began at this point, because I believe those two stones that he finds and gives to Marcus are pieces of the Great Circle. It's not an airtight theory, because the person who breaks into the museum is not after those. He's after a cat mummy, as we soon find out. But that's my working theory about why this scene is in this game. I believe it will be the opening tutorial, and will set the tone, set the story. And so we go to Marshall College in Connecticut, and after a late night of studying or preparation, Indy is going to be awoken by the sound of a break-in. And he goes to investigate. He goes into Marcus's museum, and he discovers this mysterious man here, looking at some Egyptian stuff. Now, as we learn, there is a cat mummy, which was found in Egyptian location of Siwa, which is one of the locations on the Great Circle, according to the globe that we've seen, which shows all of the locations. And so this cat mummy is going to be stolen by Locus here. Indy goes to confront him, and Locus, played by Tony Todd, a tall villain. Of course, you got to have a big villain in your Indiana Jones adventure, and this is really exciting the way they're doing it, because this time the big tall guy that Indy has to fight is not just a random henchman. He's actually a major important character in this game. One of the four most important characters of this game, it would seem, because he is part of a secret order who is dedicated to keeping the stones out of the wrong hands and keeping its, mysterious power out of the wrong hands. And so I think this is going to be an interesting, third faction here. I don't think he's allied with the Nazis. I think he's has his own thing. He's going to be fighting Indy, and he's going to be fighting the Nazis. But we don't know that for sure yet. Definitely fighting Indy. We get a few very brief, nice shots of the fight, and then our next footage jumps ahead to the next morning here, and Indy is recovering. He opens up his journal. His journal starts empty, except for the Temple of the Forbidden Eye map, which is a really nice touch and reference for Indiana Jones fans. But these pages will start off blank, and as you make discoveries, the pages start to fill in, and you can see all of the things here that get filled in as you go about your adventure. So yeah, let's go one at a time what these are. So here's a picture of the cat, which was found in Siwa, and we also get the giant's pendant, very important. So Indy grabs that pendant that our giant friend, played by Tony Todd, was wearing, and this pendant directs him to Vatican. So he decides that that's the place to go, because he can't let this go, and he really wants to get to the bottom of this, and he's not going to let somebody break into his museum and steal an artifact like that. That's no good. So let me mention a few other things that will be in the journal here before I finish that part up. So the Black Shirts news article is going to explain that the Black Shirts, who are the Italian far-right fascist paramilitary wing, have taken over the Vatican. And so this is basically going to be a good indication to the player that it's okay to fight the Italian enemies that you're going to face in the next section of the game, because they are fascist and they are allied with the Nazis. And college identity card, and other things I mentioned. Okay, so before Indy can depart, he's going to be packing his suitcase. He has to pack it with 3 items for sure. One of them is the Giant's Pendant, and one of them is his bullwhip, which is always very important for Indiana Jones. And the third is a gramophone record, and this gramophone record is actually rhythm and blues. So I think this is a nice little reference once again that Indiana Jones, as we learned in Mystery of the Blues, which was a young Indiana Jones adventure, Indy loves blues and jazz, and he played it himself on the soprano sax. And there's a scene, the only episode of Young Indiana Jones that Harrison Ford was actually in was that episode, and he played the soprano sax himself. So that's a great reference that they had in there. It's wonderful to see. Alright, so Indy, is going to explore Marshall College looking for all of this stuff. You get to see Marcus, and the voice actor for Marcus does a really good job. Really, and the character model too. So, very excited to see Marcus back. I mean, dream come true, I think, for us Indy fans. Moments here before Indy heads out. And this, of course, is the teaser trailer that we got back in 2020 or 2021, somewhere in there. And, in hindsight, there's a lot of great clues here. It mentions the stones, the ancient circles, all of that. Here's a look at your journal, which is so important. We see the fertility idol. That's a great clue that the fertility idol and the opening scene of Raiders is in this game and connected to the story. And this right here, we see something about it. It says ziggurat, but it looks a bit like the hidden pyramid that you find in Sukhothai later in the game. Here a little bit of a map of Rome. Obviously, Indy's about to head to Rome, so that's where in the story this would take place. Some of his other important gear, the camera, weapon, that obviously. And we go off on our adventure. Nice to see it. A great classic looking transition here for the map scene. And we get this telegram from Indy's friend Antonio, and we're about to meet Antonio in the Vatican City. And here he is. This is our boy Antonio. And so I have seen some footage of this game which has not been released yet, so I can tell you a few things. And one thing which is pretty cool is that Antonio calls Indy Henri when he meets him, and Henri de France was of course Indy's fake name that he gave to sign up for the Belgian army during the First World War. That was in Young Indiana Jones. So that's a great reference and an indication that this is a character who's known Indy for a long time, probably meeting him during World War I. And so Indy is going to explain to Antonio, I fought this giant, I found this pendant pointing to the Vatican, and so Antonio is going to explain to him that the only rumor he knows about giants is it's the Order of the Giants, or the Fallen Angels. So basically, there's an order of these giants somewhere in the Vatican, and there was a mad Catholic priest who was raving and scribbling about all of this somewhere down here in the subterranean levels. So he's going to lead Indy down there, and they're going to look for these scribblings to try and find out the clues of where these giants are in Vatican City. Where is their hideout, their headquarters? So we get some good exploration stuff. And we'll see one of the scribblings here. This is a map, obviously. But some of the clues here that Indy finds will lead him to the the Fallen Angels or the Order of the Giants. And this is obviously the scene that we saw earlier where he specifically mentions the Fallen Angels, and also is the first time that he hears Great Circle in this story. So on here, so Indy's starting to discover. This is a funny little scene, but we're gonna head outside. Looks like the next part of the game, Indy's going somewhere else in the Vatican. The Vatican's a big open area, as are so many parts of this game. There are linear parts and open world parts as well, but if I can skip back a little bit, obviously you saw there is some daytime stuff here. So when you first get here, there'll be a lot of side quests you can do. You can explore the Vatican a little bit, and actually Antonio is going to give you a clerical suit like this one, and Indy will use that as a disguise so he can go wherever he wants in the Vatican without raising suspicion. And this is going to be the first of many disguises and costumes that you can switch out throughout the game. Obviously, there are going to be some extra costumes from Temple of Doom and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade that you can use at your will, apparently, throughout the game. But Indy's going to come out here, and we get some fun traversal stuff with the whip. Good to see him going all about, some nice gameplay here. And sneaking about, and we're also going to get some great gameplay of the fighting. So when you discover things in this game, you're going to receive what's called adventure points. And another thing is that you are going to find little books throughout the game called adventure books. And when you find these books, it gives you the opportunity to unlock a new ability by spending your adventure points. And so one of them is related to this image here. It's True Grit. So when Indy is defeated in combat, he'll have a short amount of time to crawl over to his hat, and if he gets there in time, he'll put it back on and be able to continue in the fight. It's his revival ability, basically. And so that was the animation that plays when you have successfully used True Grit. Alright, so Indy's going to explore more here. You know, obviously I don't know for sure the exact order everything happens. My thinking was that Indy goes to find the scribblings of the priest, and then that leads him somewhere else towards the location of the hideout, basically, of the Fallen Angels. But he's gonna need to get a key first to get in there. That's my thinking. So he goes into another subterranean area here in search of the tomb that has the key. Solves many puzzles, obviously, as you do. And a little bit. So here we go. He finds the tomb, finds a coffin here, and opens up, and I believe that he will find the key inside there. But before he can use it, looks like some pesky villains have crashed the party, and so we get some fight scenes. And we also get some big action moment here, as apparently a tank comes crashing through the ground right on top of him. And that's a very brief little shot of the key that he needs to open this door. And, you know, maybe this is not exactly what I'm thinking because there are windows here, or maybe this is just so high up that you can't get there otherwise. But I mean, my theory for now is that, you know, Indy goes, he finds this key in order to reach the hideout and the treasure room here, where he meets Gina. And Gina is, here's another look at Gina. Here we go. She's an Italian journalist, and her stake in this story is that she's looking for her lost sister. And we don't know too much about the sister's backstory. Possibly a chance that her sister is an archaeologist, but we don't know for sure. Alright, so Indy and Gina come in here to the treasure room, and they're looking for the cat, and eventually Indy does find the mummified cat, but Locust shows up and crashes the party, and apparently there's a brief fight, but then apparently they dispatch Locust in some way. They don't permanently defeat him, but in some way Locust seems to get out of the situation. Another look at the cat right there. And but also interested in this treasure room is Voss here, the main villain, a Nazi archaeologist. He's accompanied with several goons, possibly a character who is either Mussolini or just another high-ranking Italian fascist guy. And then we also have a German-speaking priest here. The priest basically is going to give warnings to Voss, like, don't mess with these things, don't mess with these stones, because I've heard about him that there's a power that, like, unworldly, we don't want to mess with that. But he is very interested, Mr. Voss, because his boss wants to use them. Wrong reasons. And so as Indy is watching this, this is how he starts to learn what's at stake here. He learns that Voss believes. So even though Indy and Gina do not believe in superstition, they agree that since Voss believes this, they have got to take this seriously. They got to go find these stones and stop the Germans from completing whatever they're trying to do. Put this puzzle of all these stones together, or whatever they're gonna do. So after the villains leave, it looks like Indy and Gina have a moment. Actually, I just noticed this might actually come slightly after this in the story. So So here, Indy and Gina are basically talking about what they just saw, and they're like, okay, we gotta do something about this. And we got some nice dialogue between them, some good chemistry between them, and then the Nazis have apparently boarded the Zeppelin and are presumably going to Egypt. So we're gonna get a little action scene here of Indy getting on the Zeppelin. Apparently, Gina's already here, as we in this footage here, and there's a little joke, but what I just realized is that at this section is actually where this scene takes place. If you look at the background, I thought this was in the treasure room, but now I see it's Zeppelin. So Indy draws the map and explains the Great Circle. It's the Great Circle. Basically, what it is that there are a bunch of temples and spiritually significant locations around the globe, and they all coincidentally, apparently, or they thought coincidentally, fell on this circle. And in real life, there's like a big theory and debate about this. Like, I watched a documentary, and you know, there's a guy saying it has something to do with aliens, extraterrestrials. Obviously, Egypt is you know, a major part of that, because like, how did the pyramids get built, for example? Like, we have no idea with the tools that they had, the Egyptians, how they managed to build those pyramids. So some people believe that the ancient Egyptians and maybe other cultures were helped by extraterrestrials or something supernatural. Alright, and we'll skip ahead a little bit. There's also this footage. I'm not sure if this happens after the Zeppelin scene, or maybe it happens much later during the Shanghai part of the game. Okay, for sure, but let's go to Giza. And this is really great to see Indy in Giza. We've never seen him in like in a film or a major video game like this, going to Giza. He did go in the first episode of Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, climb the top of one of these great pyramids, and he also visited the Sphinx, I guess, in one of the books, Secret of the Sphinx. But now, like, one of the classic locations of, you know, adventure and history and all of these things, so appropriate for Indiana Jones to be here, and now finally we're seeing him in Giza after 40 years at last. This is really exciting. Alright, so this is a massive map. All of these maps in this game, there are linear parts, maybe I mentioned before, but there are also open world parts. So there's going to be, you know, little break areas, recreation areas. Obviously there's a Sphinx and, you know, different structures that are being excavated that Indy will be able to explore. see a train here going back and forth. Maybe it's carrying something, not sure. And then we have a village too. So Indy is going to explore. You know, you as the player have the opportunity to you know, explore whatever you want. There's a bunch of optional side quests that you can do. And so I did see some footage that he went to a bazaar. He interacts with one of the vendors, and she gives him, you know, an artifact, which is either a side quest or maybe it's one of the main artifacts. Hard to say. Okay, so let's wonderful. Oh man, it's great. I love the look of this game. Grid, and here's another little area here that Indy will explore. Looks like we skip ahead a little bit here. So now we're at the Sphinx. Now under the Sphinx, there's a little cavern right over here, and that's gonna be where Indy is supposed to meet Gina here. So when Indy meets Gina, he finds a note which was written by the head of the Nazi dig, a fellow named Meyer, and it explains that we found a medallion which is used, which we later find out is going to be used to open this door that Indy and Gina need to get through. So in order to get it back, Indy is going to have to disguise himself in his white Arab outfit that he used in Raiders of the Lost Ark during the Tanis dig site, and that was really cool to see him prize that disguise again. And he's going to go into, I can possibly a tent like this one, which is the recreational area, and he's going to go in there and he has to get the medallion, but Meyer, the head of the dig site, is in there, and you know, he's yelling at him to give him a bottle of alcohol. So you have to be careful to not arouse suspicion. And also, I love that like a minor character like Meyer is giving their own personality in all of these things in this game. Great attention to detail. Really, I love everything about what I'm seeing in this game. Okay, so here's the medallion. And Indy uses it, unlocks a huge underground area with a bunch of tunnels and passageways that they're going to have to navigate. Indy and Gina come together here, and they're going to explore this area, and she's actually going to save him, but he's going to use his whip to gun in this little opening right here and crawl around and open the gate for her. And then eventually they make their way... Oh, and before they get into this room, I should mention the Egypt section of the game is called Sanctuary of the Guardians, and we see a mural at one point that Indy and Gina find, which looks like 3 Egyptian deities, and they identify them as the Guardians. So it makes me wonder, you know, about the mysteries of the Great Circle, what it's all about. One thing is, what is the relationship between the Guardians and the Order of the Giants, aka the Fallen Angels? Are they one and the same? Are they separate in some way? What is the backstory of these Guardians? Are they extraterrestrial? Are they literally from heaven? You know, hard to say. Hopefully it's going to be, you know, a satisfying twist, whatever it is. Alright, so they come into this room here, and there's going to be these puzzles where they have to reflect light in holes here to unlock a golden mask that she has here. And Gina speculates that this mask, that the Guardians were so hideous that they had to wear masks. And I feel like this is like a mask, like Locust could wear this mask. Like, so that's why I wonder if Locust is descended from the Guardians. So if the Guardians are the forefathers of the fallen angels. And you might notice here there's a circle with a line through it. Could it be that the circle is Earth and the line is the Great Circle? Or could it be that the circle is Earth or the Great Circle, but the line is like an extraterrestrial thing? or like, you know, if you follow some of these theories and stuff, like of like real life, like kind of sci-fi-ish theories of like another planet intersecting with Earth or something, different things. I've just thrown out just little tidbits that I've heard over the years. I don't know too much about it. So yeah, it makes me very curious to know more about. But Gina ultimately sits on this throne, which makes a trap go off, and they fall into another chamber, have to fight some scorpions, and eventually they get split from each other, because later we see Indy by himself, and here he comes into this large cavern which is called the Sunsparker Temple, and he finds this statue, which looks like one of the deities from the mural, possibly like Anubis or Horus, one of these guys. And so this is kind of a mix of footage and behind the scene footage of Indy finding this artifact, and a nice character moment here as he's reluctant to destroy a valuable or priceless ancient relic, but he does, and he finds the stone. And this is a big moment in the game, because this is possibly the first time that Indy actually holds one of these stones in his own hand in the game, or at least that he knows that it's one of the stones. And so, yeah, there's a trap goes off, the sand falls, and he has to run on the sand like quicksand in order to reach an escape hatch up above him. And a little bit of that escape, and then he does make it out, as we see, and he got the piece. And then we see this scene, and I'm not sure if this is going to happen at this point of the game, or maybe it'll happen a little earlier when Indy gets separated from Gina. But somehow Indy's been captured. The boss is giving a hard time. You guys, I'm sure if you've watched the trailer, it's the first thing. And Indy what's him? Moment. But that's all we have from Egypt, so we're gonna go to Sukhothai. And so Thailand at this point in history, I believe, is allied with Japan. So I don't know if these are supposed to be Japanese guys or if they are actually Thai military. But Indy's encountering some guys here which, you know, don't appear to be Germans. They definitely have like a East Asian looking uniform, possibly the Japanese, but not sure. And you know, we can see one of the temples here of Sukhothai. Looks great. Obviously, they did a lot of studying of old photographs from the 1930s to kind of recreate the you know, the grown over look of some of these temples, and you know, the pre-renovated look of them. So it's going to be really cool to see, explore, feel like Indiana Jones. And here's a look at a hidden pyramid. So I did see a map of this area. This section of the game, Indy is after the Blessed Pearl, apparently, according to some on-screen text. Also, before I forget, I should mention that there's apparently another showdown with Indy and Locust in Sukhothai somewhere, according to some on-screen text. But the map of Sukhothai, it's made up of a bunch of rivers, and there's a village, obviously this hidden pyramid, and other points of interest, and Indy's going to be using boats to get around. I should mention also there's a little scene of, it takes place at night. Indy and Gina are on a different boat with some other people, apparently some allies, and one of them is a woman with a kind of a badass warrior woman who has like a colorful decorated eye patch, and she complains about Indy as like, oh, another archaeologist. So I'm not sure if she's complaining about Voss as the archaeologist, or maybe even Gina's sister as the other one. So that's all we know about that for now. Nice shot there. Obviously, we'll have lots of puzzles and all that. Always. And puzzles. Skip it. So Here's a little canyon here. There's a nice moment that you'll find some spears on the ground right here. And in order to get across this section, Indy is going to pick up one of these spears, chuck it over there, and then he's going to use his whip to swing across it, which is, you know, pretty nice demonstration of how you have to think like Indiana Jones to, you know, find solutions, find your routes where you need to go. Creative. And so this is called the Demon's Head room. And Indy's gonna do more puzzles here, something with water, climbing up here, doing something with this these little items, and I believe I think if there's anything else, I know about Sukhothai. Alright, and so now it's on to the Himalayas. So, with regard to these stones, apparently there was this captain here. I don't know if this is a German, maybe. So this battleship, apparently they must have picked up a stone from somewhere. I don't know, could have been an Easter Island, or maybe somewhere in Peru or somewhere else. I hope it wasn't Easter Island, because I really want to go to Easter Island in this game. But somewhere, this battleship has picked up one of these stones, and this guy has maybe inadvertently used it to teleport the entire battleship here into the Himalayas. And so Indy and Gina basically are in a race against the Nazis to get up here to this this battleship. Them climbing the mountain a little bit. Ship. And then Indy goes into the bowels of the ship, sneaks around. There are some German enemies here to engage with. I've only seen a little bit of gameplay from this section of the game, and then, but eventually they do find the stone, and we have this long cutscene here, which is the biggest cutscene that we've seen so far. Several minutes, but basically Germans catch them. Gina gets the stone and fakes out the German into thinking that she's gonna give it to him, but actually gives him a live grenade. So that's gonna cause a slide. Good fighting, the whole ship's gonna collapse. And that's all that we've seen of the Himalayas, so we don't see how this gets resolved, but big situation there. And then finally our last confirmed section of the game is Shanghai, China. And what is Indy doing in Shanghai? Because there's no location on the Great Circle close to Shanghai at all, but maybe it's kind of like how the Vatican had some of these stones that they were brought from other locations, or how the Himalayas had a stone that was from another location. You know, possibly one of the stones is going to be has been brought here to Shanghai. So this is the only shot we get of the nighttime stuff. You can see decorations here, which makes it pretty clear, I think, that it's Shanghai, or somewhere in China. See explosions outside, and here's a great concept art of Indy and Gina running as the city is bombarded. That's going to be quite a section of the game here, and this is a wonderful little bit of gameplay. This is all the gameplay that we have of this section of the game. And in fact, this is the last piece of gameplay that we have to look at, because we've gone through everything now. So I believe that's all that I know about this game. I hope that there will be some other secret locations. We saw there's something like almost 20 locations on the map of the Great Circle. And Easter Island is one that's been teased a little bit by the game developer. We don't know for sure if he's going to be in there. I'm going to go back and let some of this footage play while I just talk about some bits here. I would love to see Easter Island in this game, because it's such a great, mysterious location, such a perfect place for Indiana Jones to go. I've always wanted to see Indy go anywhere in the South Pacific, but specifically Easter Island is a great location for Indy to go. So I really, really hope that we will get Easter Island as a playable location in this game. Hopefully more than just that. I'd love to see several different locations. The developers said that this was the biggest game they've ever done in terms of gameplay hours. And they said even if you run through the story, it's still bigger than any game they've ever done. And consider Wolfenstein 2 was 11 to 33 hours of gameplay, depending on if you did the side quests and all of that. So this is a nice amount of gameplay we're gonna get here, which is wonderful because, you know, who knows when we're gonna get another game. I definitely hope that all of you guys are gonna buy this game because we really need this to be a success, because if it's success, maybe they'll give us a sequel, maybe they'll give us more Indiana Jones content. You know, the last film, Dial of Destiny, wasn't quite up to the expectations that we have, certainly in terms of profit made, and so, you know, the future of the franchise is kind of up in the air right now. Obviously, we have this video game, and we have a new Disney attraction coming as well. So I really hope that this game is a success. Everything I've seen looks really good. The gameplay, obviously, the fighting mechanics look really good, really robust. I'm really excited about that. All of the exploration aspects of the game looks really cool. I think the story is really intriguing and interesting and perfectly suited for Indiana Jones. It's just a question of, you know, how far do you go with it? What is the end mystery gonna be, the end result? And is it something that people are gonna be satisfied with? Because obviously they had Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, had aliens in it, but it was not very well received. And the Great Circle, a lot of theories regarding aliens are attached to the Great Circle, so there's a possibility of that, but I feel like they wouldn't do aliens again. But it's hard to say, because, like, especially with the name Fallen Angels, you know, it implies somebody coming from the sky. Either it's someone coming from heaven, or it's someone coming from outer space somehow. Of course, King of the Crystal Skull had other issues, though. So, you know, for some people it might be hard to accept this game if it ends up being aliens. I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. As you can tell, I'm super excited about this game. I've done several videos about this game over the last few days, and yeah, I'm so stoked for this, because Indiana Jones is my favorite franchise, and we just don't get the regular content that we deserve. We just went through 14 years of no content. It's unbelievable to me. From 2009 was the last time we got any Indiana Jones books, any games, any comic books, and of course 2008 was King of the Crystal Skull, and then we didn't get anything for 14 years until 2023 when Dial of Destiny came out. And even after Dial of Destiny, we didn't get any comic books, any books. All we've gotten otherwise are these two other things, which are the Great Circle and the new Disney World attraction that's coming. So, yeah. All right, I think I'm starting to repeat myself here if I talk any longer. So, thank you guys so much. Please like and subscribe. It would really help me out a lot, because YouTube's been really weird. I don't know. Like, sometimes I grind and grind on these videos, and I've done certain projects for my channel that I spend like hundreds of hours, and for some reason the views just aren't really up. So I really appreciate you guys for your support. Yeah, please like and subscribe for me. Share it if you can. And also leave me a comment down below. Give me your thoughts and your theories about this game. Anything you have to say about it. I'm looking forward to speculating with you guys for the next few months until this comes out on December 9th. So thank you all so much, as always, and I wish you all fortune and glory. Bye-bye now.